This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is the HP Omen Transcend 14. This is the 2025, late 2025 model with NVIDIA RTX 5000 series graphics and Intel Core Ultra 7 and 9 second generation CPUs. So they've improved things a lot from the first iteration of this if you looked at it but decided against it. We're going to look at it now. Competition is tight in this space, isn't it? You have some nice 14-inch laptops. Obviously, if you have the coin to spend, there's always the Razer Blade 14, which will be the most expensive. And then there's the Asus ROG Zephyrus G14, a perennial favorite with a nice metal build, pretty good looks, and a more affordable price tag than Razer. So enter the HP, which is even still a bit more affordable typically than the Asus, but you get that nice industrial design. You got the aluminum chassis on board, that nice matte black. It is available in ceramic white for $10 more if you do prefer white. So it looks every bit as classy a piece. And like the competition, this has an OLED display. In fact, it's what you call 2.5 to 3K OLED display, 120 Hertz. That's fair. Higher refresh doesn't make much sense with the lower to mid-tier GPUs you put in these smaller gaming laptops, right? But it's 2880 by 1800 resolution. It's variable refresh rate, so 48 to 120 Hertz. HP claims 500 nit brightness. We didn't quite get there, but for OLED it did pretty well at 442 nits on our particular unit. So a gorgeous looking display and on par with the competition. The one thing that I will tell you about the display is, oh my gosh, it's glossy, you know, which is not unusual with gaming laptop OLED displays. Alas, it's very reflective. If you're going to use this a lot outdoors or in very bright light, just keep that in mind. And it's not alone. If you're looking at that Zephyrus I mentioned, for example, too, you're going to see the same, wow, I can see the spinach in my teeth from lunch kind of problem. In terms of performance, they've upped the GPU wattage a little bit for this generation. So you can get it with an RTX 5050 at the entry level and a Core Ultra 7 255H CPU, and that one starts like $1,300, which is pretty cheap, okay? And then you can get it with the 5060, and ours is the top of the line 5070, which is 75 watts now instead of like 60 watts or something. So you get a bit more performance. So to cut to the chase about where you're trying to decide among these laptops which to get. So the selling points for this one are going to be longer run times on the battery. It's a 71 watt-hour battery. It's a pretty good sized battery for a 14-inch gaming laptop. And it's cooler and quieter than the competition as well. So say you're getting 5% less performance versus the Zephyrus, you're gaining it back in those things. So obviously that was a balance that HP went for, and I think a lot of people with a 14-incher are probably going to appreciate that. Usually 14 inches isn't your primary gaming experience machine. It's the thing that you take with you to game on the road, or because you're a student and you need to take it to class too, fit on the airline tray table, all of those things. So that's what it's about. If you're looking for the absolute maximum performance, well, maybe this isn't the one among the 14-inch gaming laptops. But hey, a laptop that does not get burning hot to the touch, this does not get wildly loud. I tested it in performance mode, so all the gaming footage that you're going to see and those benchmarks are all in performance mode. There is an unleash mode. I mean, that gets you maybe 5 frames per second better in games, but it does up the noise, but you can adjust custom fan profiles and stuff there. So it's interesting, and it's always nice to see that. HP has their Omen software on board, so you can do things like control the RGB lighting, set your performance modes, all of that stuff. It's a little over the top. I mean, a lot of these softwares are these days. It offers to optimize the game. There's an automatic game booster, which I had to disable because it actually caused one of my benchmarks to crash. So you can turn features off that you don't want, so that's a good thing. While we're talking about that keyboard for a minute, it is HyperX branded, so be mindful for 2026. HP is really leaning not just into the Omen brand, which is a brand they bought long ago, but now they purchased HyperX, right? So it's going to be an Omen HyperX or HyperX Omen. I don't know if that's a good idea, right? That's not as bad as maybe Dell killing the XPS and bringing it back a year later, the name, but that's what HP is doing with branding. Same line of laptops, just they're leaning into that HyperX branding. Anyway, nice keyboard, a little unusual looking, isn't it though, with that kind of milky white surround, because the backlighting just kind of, well, the keys float in an island of backlighting. You can get it with 4-zone RGB, which is what we have, and if you spend like $40 more, you can get per key RGB if you rather have per key RGB. Trackpad on it is fine as well. One thing I will say, it has a little more key travel than average. So if you've tried out the Razer blade and you don't like that pretty much feeling of almost not moving keys, right? This one feels very punchy, very tactile. Keys spring back at you. It's a nice experience, right? Ports on this, not a super lot, but it is a 14-incher, but yeah. So you have two Thunderbolt 4 ports, one on the side, one on the rear, and you have an HDMI 2.1 port on the rear. That's important to have if you're a gamer. Two USB-A ports as well, and of course you got a headphone jack on board. So yeah, that's about all you get there. When it comes to performance, it's pretty much what we would expect for something with a Core Ultra 9 on board, which is what we have here, Intel second generation of the Core Ultra line, and maybe not at the top of the pack, but again, because HP's focus was on making something that wasn't burning hot and annoyingly loud, it did well. It's maybe 5% below, say, the toughest of the competition. CPU in particular is a pretty strong performer, and it will outperform the Ryzen that is in the Razer Blade 14, for example, which has to do more generational differences and how many watts they're using and all that sort of thing as well, but yeah. When it comes to games, you've seen the footage running across. You're going to want to use DLSS and frame generation on this. Frame generation just keeps getting better and better. I have nothing against it. It's essentially adding more frames to the animation. You're already looking at animations when you're playing games, aren't you, right? And it takes this laptop from being okay with AAA titles to being, hey, this is kind of nice, and you can play at native resolution, which is a pretty high resolution at 2880 by 1800, and we ran the benchmarks that you're seeing at that native resolution, except for Monster Hunter Wilds, which we ran at 2560 by 1600, just to be using the same resolution we use on all of the other laptops that we review, so you can cross-compare them and all that sort of thing. But I was pretty impressed with the frame rates on this. Now, I played Cyberpunk on ray tracing low setting, and it did about 40 frames per second without frame gen. But you throw frame gen in there and you're about 66, which for a single-player game like that is good. And that's at native resolution. And you could dial down the settings a bit if you wanted, or even dial down the resolution and do better. I was pretty surprised. And it did pretty well with Wukong as well. And that's a fairly tough game to play there. That we tested with frame generation on, because I can tell you from testing as many systems that I've tested, it was going to need frame generation. But it too managed to go up into the 60s. Again, another single player game like that, that's what you want to see. Obviously, if you're playing competitive first-person shooter, those are usually less demanding graphically anyway, so you'll do well, and you're probably going to drop your resolution down to 1080p or something like that. So it's fine. You want to play some Apex on this or something, or some Overwatch, it's definitely got game. It's very playable. So I've already talked about battery life, so you know it's quite good on this. Well, what does quite good mean? So running this in eco mode or even in balanced mode, I was getting about 8 hours of normal use time. Not gaming, obviously it's going to tank when gaming, and also you get lower frames when not plugged in, so I much prefer to plug in when I play games, but that is pretty darn good for a gaming-oriented laptop. You do have Intel switchable graphics. You can even just put it Intel only mode, so you know those annoying times when you're trying to save battery and something keeps triggering the NVIDIA GPU and you're like, stop that, you know, you need it to be long running and quiet and cool. You can do that. You've got a USB-C charger. It's 140 watt. That is a high capacity charger for USB-C. So that will use up one of your two USB-C/Thunderbolt ports, the one on the rear, obviously probably being the more convenient one to use if you're plugging in the charger, but that's nice. So in a pinch, if you need to grab somebody's 65 watt Ultrabook USB-C charger just to keep going when you're doing office work and stuff like that, it will do the trick. So well done. All right, here are the undersides, large ventilation area. We do like to see that, don't we? Because, well, we want ventilation. Though, as you can see, well, a lot of it is actually blocked. This is for the fans themselves. Anyway, bottom cover is held on by 4 tiny Phillips head screws and a lot of clips, so you're going to have to work on prying off the bottom cover. So inside, you'll see with this platform from Intel, RAM is typically soldered on. You can get this with 16, 32, or even 64 gigs of low-power DDR5X RAM. Again, it is soldered, so get it with the amount that you want. Most configurations are 16 or 32. Dual fans, as you see on every gaming laptop, and here we have a vapor chamber. Yay, that is a good thing. This is the M.2 full length SSD right here. That one benchmarked pretty well for us. It's PCIe Gen 4. And it has a copper heatsink on it, which is nice to see as well. The Wi-Fi card is not visible here. You can get this with Wi-Fi 6E or Wi-Fi 7, like a $10 difference in price, I think, with Bluetooth 5.3 and 5.4 respectively. And those are Intel cards, and I imagine that is on the underside of this board since it is not visible here. Here's the 71 watt hour battery right there, and your speaker drivers. Pretty loud speakers for a little guy. This actually sounds pretty good if you're playing games without headphones. A combination of not horrible fan noise and pretty good speakers actually make it fairly enjoyable. So that's the HP Omen Transcend 14-inch. Again, really nice looking laptop, good build quality on this. The battery run times on this and the thermals are the big selling points, and it does fine in games too. Like I said, it's not going to be the top performer in the 14-inch gaming laptop class, but hey, I will take 5 frames per second less to get something that's cool and that can actually run that long unplugged. So in those respects, they're doing really the right things right now. I'm Lisa from MobileTechReview. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos, and thumbs up if you like this vid.